Okay? So this thing here is called a frequency table. Okay? So if you see something that looks like this, this thing is the individuals, okay, are so if we're looking at it, first of all, this is the frequency table for all the radio stations in the entire United States. Can you see that? Do I need to make it bigger?
Yeah.
Make it bigger? Okay, so I can make it a little bit bigger by going like this. A little better? Okay. So this, oops, now I have to take pie graphs and bar graphs and move that in. Isn't that cool? How I could do that? So anyway, this is called a frequency table, right? Where the individuals, okay, are, what are the individuals? What are the individuals? What?
Things being studied.
Yeah, and what are, so you read the kind of paragraph to figure out what the individuals are. So what are the individuals in this case? The radio audience rating service Arbitron places the country's 13,800 into categories that describe the kinds of programs they broadcast. Here are two different tables showing the distribution of station formats. So what are the individuals? Yes, sir.
The kinds of programs they broadcast.
It's, well, the individuals are programs, radio programs in the United States, okay? And the variable, there's only one variable here. What's the variable? What's the variable? What are we saying about those radio stations? What? This thing is the variable, kind of like the genre. Who said that? Genre, yeah. Genre, format, that's the variable. This number over here is called the count, okay? So with a frequency table, okay, this tells you, it breaks it into different categories, right? And this counts up how many in each of those categories. That's why it's called the count, okay? This table is kind of the same stuff. The only difference between this and this is that they take the total and they divide it they divide it into how many of each one. So this table over here, this is called a frequency table over here. This is called a relative frequency table, where you have percents. Which do you think is better for making, yes, Cameron?
I was just wondering why it doesn't add up to 100%.
Why, down here?
Yeah.
Who can tell me why it doesn't add up to 100%?
Is it just like a statistical thing that like they don't have all the data or something?
No, it's just because they round off. Okay? So like, if I divide 1556, because the way they got this number 11.2, if I divide 1556 into 13,838, probably I won't get exactly 11.2. Okay? And if I take 1196 and divide it into there, probably I won't get exactly 8.6. So it's a rounding error. Okay, that's why it's close to, should be just about 99.9%, but it's not because it's they round up. Questions about that? Relative frequency table, etc. Okay. So then we have these cool charts here that you can make out of these things. Right? And I'm gonna try to make it bigger. Let's see. So one is obviously a pie chart, and one is a bar graph. Okay? Who can tell me when you would want to use a bar graph and when you would want to use a pie chart? When would you want to use a pie?
In this class?
What do you think there, Sam?
Pie chart would be like if you have like 100% you're making that, and the pieces where the bar graph would just be comparing separate numbers.
Very good. Okay, so if you have a bar graph, you're just looking at, it's kind of easier to, with a bar graph, it's kind of easier to see, okay, so 16% of radio stations are these, this many, this is percent over here. You don't have to have percent, but in this case, you have percent over here. You could have done this with just the count over here, and then the format over here. In a pie graph, use a pie graph when you want to see what part of the whole is that. Okay, so if you want to look at this graph and say, which color, I don't know if you guys could really see, which color appears to have the most radio stations? Which color seems to have, what color does it look like? Orange? How about this one?
Or like the most dark purple one.
This one?
News and talk. Another one. Up.
What's this one?
Yeah,
News
that
and
one.
talk?
News and talk.
Either news and talk or maybe religious station. How many of you guys listen to news and talk? One person. How many of you guys listen to religious? Maybe I shouldn't ask. Is that a loaded question? Who has
Every day.
Okay, so you guys listen to a religious station? You do, you're lying. Okay. But, so, in any case, how many of you guys listen to rock? How many of you guys, what's this one say? I can't see this. This one is Spanish? Any of you guys listen to Spanish? If I were in, how about contemporary hits? That's like, you know, stuff that's up now, like, who?
Oldies?
No, contemporary hits, it's like
No, it's
like current stuff. Who's some of the current?
I was
Lady Gaga.
naming another.
Lady Gaga. How many of you listen to Lady Gaga? Nobody?
Sorry.
How about Justin Bieber? You wouldn't admit it if you did. How about, so what do you guys listen to? Elvis.
Hey, I actually like Elvis.
Yeah, I like it. So, how about, okay, so how many of you guys listen to other? Like, not many of you raise. So, what do you call the stuff you listen to? Like hip hop? What's hip hop? Rap? Anyway. So, if I was doing a survey, say I were trying to open up an MP3 store or something like that, okay, and I wanted to sell MP3s at the store. You guys were my marketing group. Which one of these categories do you think I should use?
The biggest.
Or do you think the graph could tell me which one of those categories I should use? Which one?
Oh, whichever one's the biggest.
Not necessarily, right? Because only one person raised their hand for news. So I'm trying to make a point here. Only one person raised their hand for news and talk, right? Only one person raised their hand for religion.
You probably shouldn't use that graph if you're
Why not?
doing that, because that's for the radio, and the radio's a little outdated.
That's for
Yeah,
all
but
the
what
United
else?
States.
What does this table tell you?
Who listens to what?
What, Sam?
It tells you the total number of hits, but it doesn't compare it to the percents. So it's not totally.
It tells you the total number of what? Stations. So does that mean there's as many listeners as there are stations? You know,
No.
the number of stations doesn't tell you about how many high school kids are listening to those stations, right? So a lot of times the point we're trying to make here is that if you're asking a question, you got to make sure that the graph matches the question that you're asking. You know, so if you're saying how many kids listen to which should I carry in my MP3 store? Well, only one kid listened to it, so I would probably want, you know, more of a graph of how many kids listen to this type of music, or high school students listen to this type of music. Anyway, okay. These which is either right to make 1% of it showed over. So, which is better if I want to figure out what percent of stations are country stations? Which graph would I want to look at? Would I want to look at the pie graph, or would I want to look at the bar graph? Which percent? If I want to know, like, really precisely, which percent of stations are country stations. Which one would
Bar
I?
graph.
Which one?
Bar graph.
Probably the bar graph. How come?
Because it actually says the
Yeah,
percents.
because I could go to country, go over it, and say it's about 14 point something, right? I can just look at this and say, oh, you know, country is 14 point, right? So with the bar graph, it kind of gives you an overall picture of which is weighted more. Pie graph kind of gives you an overall picture. With a bar graph, it's more specific, you know, so you could kind of look at this.
Don't pie graphs normally have the percentages on it?
What?
Don't pie graphs normally have the percentages?
Yeah, but in this one, they didn't do it. And it's harder to make. You know, you have to use geometry to figure out, you know, what percent, right? So many degrees, you'd have to make it. So, but lots of software and stuff. Okay, so what's next? I want to look at this Dilbert cartoon because it's kind of funny. So here's, do you guys ever read Dilbert?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have anything useful to say, so I made this pie chart. Ooh, it must be true because it's a pie. That worked too well. I pledged my life for the anyway. So if you make fancy graphs, people think you're really smart, you know, even if you don't know anything. You know? So I think that's the point they're making there. All right, so let's get rid of Dilbert. Let's move on to choosing the best. So let's try to do this kind of together. Choosing the best graph to display the data. Okay? Portable MP3 players such as Apple iPad are popular but not equally popular with people of all ages. Here are the percents of people in various age groups who own a portable MP3 according to an arbitrary 1,112 randomly selected people. Make a well-labeled bar graph to display the data. Okay? Could you do that? Should I do this, or is that too? Let's do it.
I think that's a little bit too much for us, don't you?
It's a little bit too much for you.
I don't know if we can handle it.
Okay, let's try to handle it. Whoops, did that go the wrong way? Let's
I don't
undo
like
it.
it.
Okay, so I'm going to use my geometric tools here. Like this. Like this. Remember to label your axes. What would go down here? What would go down here? Age group, right? So you put age group down here. And what would go on this axis over here? Percent owning. And then I just make up, and probably how high would that percent need to go up to? 50, 55 maybe, so maybe go by 10s, 20, 30, 40, 50. So my first age group, they're kind of nice in order like this. So I would probably put 12 to 17 when you make a bar graph. I'm going to take a, watch this, you guys. I'm an amazing multi-board user. So this guy's 12 to 17, they're going to go up to 54 or somewhere around. That's, what did I say? 10,
That's
50. I'll fix it, don't worry. Let's try again. Okay, so say that's about 54, right? Well, get rid of that last thing. And we'll be good. Okay? And then you would label this 12 to 17. 12 to 17. I don't know how to get rid of this thing. Let's get it. Edit. Okay. There. Okay? Then I do the next group. 18 to 24. Okay? So I'm going to start here. And that is 30. So I go right about to here. And you want to try to make them the same way. I don't know why I keep getting that extra little goofball there. And then I'd go 25 to 34. And that's the same height. Okay? And then I'd go 35 to 34. And that goes up to 13, about there. And then I have 55 and older. I'm not quite that old, but I could, I'd fall into that category. So if you were doing like a selling MP3 players, what group do you think you would want to market to? The youngest guys, right? Okay, it's 12 to 17 years old. Except old people sometimes use them too. So, would it be more appropriate to make a pie chart for these data? Why or why not? What do you think? Why not?
No, just not.
Yeah, but why?
They're not even put it on.
Very good. Okay? Because these things, like 54% of the whole of this group, right? This percentage doesn't add up to 100, right? These percentages don't add up to 100. It's saying you're looking at each group individually. Yes? No? Yeah. So what's next? Let's see what I came up with next. And then the next thing they talk about is misleading graphs. And this is I think this is the last thing that I talked about. Yeah, until the end. So, misleading graphs. With this one, so this is something that Apple did, I guess. And it said, so if you didn't own a PC before, then this is a survey of 500 people, total of 500 people, who took who bought Apple computers or Macintosh computers, right? And out of all those people, 85 of them had not owned a computer before, right? Out of those 500 people, 60 of them had owned a PC before they bought a Mac, right? Out of those 500 people, 355 of them owned a Macintosh before, okay? You understand that? What that graph is showing you? Yes?
So all 500 people that owned a Mac at some time, they're just looking at.
Yeah, this is 500 people bought Macintosh computers, okay? But out of those 500 people, 355 owned Macs before.
And 60 PCs.
60 people on PCs before, okay? And then they talk about misleading graphs. So this graph that they have in the book is actually wrong, because this should go all the way up. This is 300, I think. It should go all the way up to 355. Why is this graph misleading? Warren, can you put your phone away, please? Thank you.
Yeah, come on, Warren.
You know.
Why is this graph misleading, Warren?
Because it looks like a lot of people prefer the Macintosh.
Very
but in
good,
reality,
okay?
a lot of people-
Because when they do picture graphs, a lot of times they try to misrepresent things. So this Macintosh computer looks, because it's an area, how does area go up?
It goes up like exponentially.
It goes up, not exponentially, but it goes up quadratic or squared, right? So this is actually, if this is the people owning Macs before, it's only about 5 times as big, but it looks like it's 25 times as big because it's going up by the area, right? And so these guys, oh, look at how much people prefer Macs over PCs and stuff, if you were Mac. Okay, and then they also talk about these bar graphs. I know this is hard to see, I'll try to make it a little bigger. But let's see if I can make it a little bigger. See those graphs right there? So here's people who didn't own a computer before who bought Macs. Here's people who bought PCs. Here's people who bought Macintoshes. Why did PCs look so much smaller over here? Look at this one. Why did PCs look so much smaller at this one, on this one, than they do over here? Very good. Because that's what people do a lot of times to try to make a point. They don't start at 0. See how it's starting at 10? So this is like, this is just, so what was the actual data? This was PCs 6. So that would correspond to 12%, even though it looks like it's like 1 or 2%. You know, so they're starting at 10 to try to exaggerate how many more people were Macs. All right, so I'm going to, you can work on that for about 20 minutes or so, and then I'm going to talk about the next stuff. Okay? Pretty easy.
Page 22, 11, 13.
I'll just write it down because I got to show up my computer while I look at the next stuff.
So how's the Monday?
So this is going to be one assignment. When I assign the second part after this, is going to be.
Can we do them on the same page?
Yeah, you can do it. It's late.
Birthdays. Yeah, I asked for the tough ones. I don't know if
That was tough one.
birthdays are not evenly distributed across the number of birthdays.
Mr. Leader.
Yes, sir.
Across the days of the week. So here are the average number of birthdays
What's this graph?
Data,
Yeah, this conversation in my house.
Oh, you don't have a book yet? Oh, who else doesn't have a book? No one. Okay. Rana has a book. But
yeah, it needs a break. Just give it a break.
I'll send you.
Sunday, Monday,
You
Tuesday,
know where the book
Wednesday.
room is? You know where the book room is?
Yeah, these.
You want to go get
So we're gonna start at like.
Okay,
Start at like.
What'd you start?
Bring that in.
In the next hallway against this one. Yeah, it's on my website. Book room. Okay. Okay, are you done yet? I think I might have you just read the next stuff and do. No, I'll kind of lead you through. So you have to make a bar graph or a pie graph or something like that on this next one. Okay, she'll be right with. She'll be right back. Okay, I'm shutting this off. There's your homework. Easy.
Brother watching.
It's true. So I just like walking. And then I'm talking to my mom wants to
Thanks, Ron. So, Andy,
you tried Fleming's friend.
you can have a book. Fill out one of these. It's $105. Silence, you kids. Graphs good and bad. We talked about that.
Alright, Sunday.
Is this too easy so far?
Sorry, graphs are really fun. It's
Well,
really good.
based on this, we should be looking back 9 months. And what was the date 9 months ago? But it says suggest some possible reasons why there are fewer birthdays or births on weekends.
People get jiggy on the weekend.
No, but 9 months later,
Don't think
it
it's
still
happening
be
exactly 9 months.
Shoot!
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Just say people want to.
I forgot to turn off my
I don't think we
microphone.
need to consider that very much.
Well, maybe because they're more stressed on weekdays than stressed on the